All righty. Thanks for joining us tonight. It's so in case you don't know, we're the Reformers and we come on every Thursday night at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. And pretty much just to give you an idea, we cover kind of all of the happenings of the week that has gone by, including today. And so I think if you hang out with us for the next 90 minutes or so, you'll see how much there is. And I think it's hard to keep up. And the only reason we're able to keep up is we take notes of our posts and what's going on. And because otherwise I'd forget. And so like all of us can't keep up here. But hang out with us. We definitely want to see your comments on our comments on what we're talking about, your takes, and we'll put some of them on the screen. So let's just start off. I think we should mention today that there was a synagogue shooting, and actually he drove into the synagogue, if I'm saying that correctly. He was taken out. We'll just be real quick about this. He was taken out, but the thing I think that matters with this is who he was targeting, the fact that we are generally at war right now. And so I think we have to be alert. I think if we see something, we should say something. You know, we were conditioned about that after 9/11. I think we kind of need to be in that stance more than ever now. This person, my understanding, or what I've learned tonight, is that he was sentenced to 10 years for planning an attack previously connected to ISIS, and he also has ties to Al-Qaeda. So it's hard to see that this doesn't have something to do with what we're seeing now, which is the war. So that's just kind of like an alert and an awareness point. All right, so
can I just add something with that?
Absolutely.
As a Jewish person, seeing online some of the things that I've seen over the last couple of years since October 7th, it's kind of scary for the Jewish community. We are very afraid. I think I've talked to many friends who have said they're afraid to go to synagogue because of something like this. And in this case, it seems like it may have been someone who was a terrorist. But we saw with the shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue, and we saw with what happened in Colorado and what happened in Washington, D.C., where 2 people were killed, targets against Jewish people. And there are a lot of people being targeted right now. I'm also Hispanic, and we see that the Hispanic community is also being targeted. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody's aware that language matters. And when you see somebody, because there have been so many things that, like just the other day, I was put on a list. Somebody put me on a list, a social media list that was like Zionist libtard. That was the list I was put on. And I'm being put on lists like that, like all the time. When you see people being treated in a different way, othered because they're Jewish, say something, speak up like you would for any other group. I think there's a lot of fear with that because especially at the beginning, right after October 7th, a lot of resistors were speaking out, like Chris, you spoke out, right? And then you get like a lot of hate for it. But we got to be brave anyway, right?
Yeah. Yep, those are good points. Thank you. Okay, so we are going to hit affordability right now. And this, a lot of this ties into the war. Like we're paying, I think everybody who drives a gas-driven car is noticing the gas prices, and they're changing by the hour, or definitely by the day. Yeah. I mean, someone was saying they drove to the mall and it was one price. And when they left the mall, they noticed it was 5 cents more. So this is within like an hour or two. This is today. This is a screenshot I took from today. So the start of the war, 298. This is average, right? 298. Yesterday, 250. So it's just creeping up, and there's no end in sight. I think if I can find this clip, I want to show y'all this.
Chris, what are the gas prices by you like?
I'm not a good person to ask because I have an EV. So I don't really. I think they're like $5. I think it's like $5. I mean, I live in California, the Los Angeles area of California, and it's never really cheap here.
Right.
What about where you are?
Yeah, we're over $5. I think it was $5.19
Yeah.
this morning when I drove past. So yeah.
So I think the other thing to say here, I think you're going to hear in a clip where, in fact, let me play that right now. Hold on.
Happening with gas prices right now. This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
How long can we expect to pay higher prices at the pump?
It's brief. It's very temporary. We don't know the exact length, but pretty temporary. Pretty temporary.
This is going to be a temporary issue. This is going to be, looks like a bit of short-term pain for the long-term gain.
As soon as this is taken care of, those prices will tumble and people will recognize that this was a short-term cost to pay for a major long-term gain in the terms of peace and security.
Back to what's happening.
I don't see the gain here, but I will say this, especially those of us that live in California, we've been through a similar, like maybe not this quick, but when gas prices go up, they go up quickly. They do not come down very quickly at all. And that's even to say, I don't see any signs that this war is ending, even though Trump acts like he can just pull out whenever. What do you all think about that? And also, don't miss the fact that this is so coordinated. All of these different people on the right literally read the same script. And this is, Democrats don't do this very well. Republicans come out on all their social media, on the shows, and they literally said the same thing. Like they didn't make that. They didn't come up with that on their own. Come on.
Right.
I would like to say I just posted, that was the video I was making. I went to pick up a prescription for my daughter today and it was $100. And so every month she needs this $100 prescription. That's just one prescription for one child. And I just had a little bit of a crash out because I had seen before I went to the store, the clip of a journalist talking, I guess he talked with Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, who essentially said, he said that there was absolutely no price tag that was too large for this war. That, we'd already spent $11 billion. And I was like, it's been like a fucking week. And we spent $11 billion. Can you imagine what that would do for our infrastructure, like for our schools, for kids that need like lunch or like families that need housing? And I just had a little bit of a crash out because and you're telling me that not only have we spent this, but that somehow this is a war that's not going to take that long, but also it's a war that you're willing to keep an unlimited tab open on. Like that is such a problem, especially, and I know we're going to get to this later, but especially with all the people that are profiting off of it, especially people that are close to Trump and that are like in the Epstein class, right? Like I have such a problem with this because they are talking out of both sides of their mouth, which is what they always do. And I am done. Like this is it. I know I've said that before, but no, today, really, what is the date today? I don't even know. The 12th of March is the day that Casey has gone on record where I'm done with this bullshit from Republicans. You cannot be the fiscally conservative class. You're not. You cannot also tell us that a war is going to be over in like a couple weeks and then also be this inept at everything that you're doing. And also be telling us that, oh, by the way, we might just need to spend every single dollar the US has.
So you brought up that we have that clip. Let's just play it real quick.
Okay, sorry.
To me, that the cost of the war for the United States so far is $11 billion. When asked if there was a number that would lead him to knock on the door of the president and say, Mr. President, we can't afford this anymore, he said, absolutely not. It was a one.
Oh, shit. What happened?
That's it. I think that's it.
That's the clip.
That's just the clip.
Yeah.
That's enough for me. Sorry. I was like, that's enough. I don't need to hear more.
I think another one we should talk about is I posted this earlier today about the shutdown. So we're still at a shutdown that's really over DHS funding, but specifically about, we're trying to get some, I don't know. You guys say what you think it is, but it's like, to me, they're moderate concessions. There's nothing major, in my opinion, that we're going after, and Republicans blocked it. But people are still suffering, and Republicans don't care. So watch this real quick.
1,000 who are impacted. As essential employees, they have to show up whether they're getting paid or not. Screeners make an average of about $61,000 a year. A TSA spokesperson says more than 300 officers have quit since the shutdown began February 14th.
We had a half a paycheck 2 weeks ago, and this weekend when we get a pay, you're going to get a big fat zero. So unfortunately, a lot of my colleagues' bank accounts are already in the red.
He says some of his coworkers haven't shown up to work because they can't afford gas, while others are getting second jobs just to survive.
Some of my colleagues donating blood plasma, working Uber Eats, delivering Grubhub. working maybe even another job at the airport. Some people are sleeping in their cars so they can save gas.
Did you hear that? So those Republicans were like, oh, it's no big deal. It's going to be quick. There are TSA agents who aren't getting paid, who are resorting to sleeping in cars near the airport, because I'm sure they're not paying airport parking because that's expensive, just to save money on gas.
I would like to call attention to more of this because I wanted to point out that almost every single person on this panel has been a teacher, and I know that all of you know that we have been living like this for decades because the Republican Party thinks that if you are not one of their Epstein class millionaire, billionaire corporate people, that you can just work for less, that you can just that's why they don't think it's a big deal, because it's not a big deal to them. But here's the thing, like, y'all have already resigned teachers to a place and other service professionals that, like, oh, well, you do it for the kids, and it's like, who cares? Like, we'll just pay them nothing. You should just be grateful that you have a job. Now they're doing it with our TSA. Like, who's next? Like, at what point? Like, we've lost every security network, every safety, like the people who take care of our children, the people who make sure that our airways are safe. Like, all of these different industries are being hit, and the Republicans keep saying it's not a big deal. What's left? Like, who's keeping our country safe for us? There's nothing left.
Yeah.
What's interesting is about that salary is, you think, where are airports? You know, they are in cities.
Thank you.
And so when you're and this, like with teachers too, you'd say, well, the average salary is, you say, okay, well, that means there are people that are below that, and you're
$60,000 is not a lot of money. I just saw the Washington Post say $200,000. Families making $200,000 are qualifying for assistance with housing. $200,000, like $60,000 is not, like, stop acting like that's a lot of money. That's
especially
ridiculous.
if you live in a city. If you live in LA,
especially,
you cannot, like, rent is
and
like
for this job, for this job, do we want people that are getting? Yeah, we want people that, like, I don't want somebody that has the same amount of training as an employee at the Gap. Like, no offense, but I mean, that's like what you're paying them is like somebody that works at the Gap. Like, while I appreciate that you can fold sweaters, that is not the same thing as making sure that someone's not bringing a knife onto a plane. Okay, so this is, we need to be honest about this. These are professionals that should be paid appropriately, and you can't just expect professionals to come to work on that kind of a salary in this environment.
There was an AI. I mean, at first I didn't know it was AI. It was the last. So also, this is our third shutdown since Trump's second term. But there was an AI video with the TSA worker, and she was waving everybody through. She's like, "I don't care. I'm not getting paid." I didn't post it, but I believed it for like 10 seconds. I was like, I can see it. I could totally see that, because, like, at this point, fuck it, you know. But it was AI.
And you don't see this going anywhere, because if you saw, Katie Britt and Chuck Schumer had kind of competing pressers, where Katie Britt said, you know, it's all the Democrats' fault.
Yeah.
We've offered olive branches and they haven't come to the table. And Chuck Schumer was like, that's BS.
So, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
And the idea that the bare minimum for the Democrat side is they need warrants and they need to take their masks off. And the fact that that's a non-starter for the White House says that this is not going to get resolved anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's listen to the rest of this, because there's points here.
Travelers expected during spring break, the impacts are only expected to get worse.
They may have to close down checkpoints and divert people to other places. That's what they've had to do during the previous shutdowns. When, like in 2018, they had to shut down two terminals in Houston.
This is the third shutdown in the last 5 months. Congress failing to get 60 votes needed to pass a DHS funding bill, with Senate Democrats proposing a plan that includes new accountability rules for ICE, which is currently funded by the Big Beautiful Bill. But Republicans blocked it late Wednesday. And TSA isn't the only agency impacted. DHS consists of the Coast Guard, Secret Service, Customs and Border Protection, and FEMA, raising questions about their strategic priorities for emergency response and national security.
All they see on TV is rhetoric about us spending $1 billion a day in a war. When we're over here, we're American citizens. We swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and we are not being paid. Thank you for your help.
But with no end in sight, airports are doing what they can to help. Denver International asking passengers to donate grocery store and gas gift cards to TSA officers, while TSA officers are asking passengers for patience.
We just asked the passenger to put themselves in our shoes. How long could they come to work without being paid?
I mean,
Listen, why don't we just sell off like some of Kristi Noem's like fancy jets, right? I know we can't get refunds for all the crab legs that were distributed in all the parties and whatever, but can we sell some of the jets off? Like, how much are those going for? Is anybody in the market for?
Nobody's going to want it after what happened in that bedroom.
Nobody wants a luxury jet with a weird ass bed and God knows what went on there. Yeah, okay.
Don't take a black light onto that plane.
This is what I'm saying. I can't at this point. I'm gonna lose it. Like I'm just being really honest, real publicly. I'm gonna lose it on some of these on some of the people right now that are doing anything other than just staring at Republicans at press conferences. I need the Democrats need to stop even participating at this point. This is a joke. What the Republicans are bringing to the table is it's insulting, and I'm tired of pretending like this is normal politics. Like I'm tired of pretending like we have to go through this well, we're just gonna pretend that we're listening and like they're pretending that they're giving us an olive branch and like this is stupid. Like you spent $200 million on a what now? A commercial? You spent another $230 million on a jet. You spent $225 million on furniture like in 1 month. Wasn't that what Pete Hegseth spent? I think. I don't know if we have the graphic on that, but like that's how. Sorry. Okay, my bad.
Like I said, there's a lot we're covering, folks.
I feel like with the TSA stuff specifically, though, like you dare look at us and tell us that you're patriots and you care about this country when you're not willing to pay the professionals that protect this country because the Democrats are asking you to follow the fucking laws. Like that's it. Like the rule of law, and you don't want to follow it, so you're throwing a tantrum and now no one's getting paid. And I just think we need to just stop arguing with them and start staring at them and letting there just be dead ass space. Make them feel uncomfortable. I'm done.
And the media has really fallen down on the job because they should be hammering these people every time that they see one of these Republicans and they don't question, well, why aren't you agreeing to just following the Constitution? They're failing at their job and they're failing our democracy.
Yeah, and I just put this graphic up. So Iran is promising $200 a barrel. So while we're all aware that the Strait of Hormuz is being targeted, like it's not really safe to just go through there. And President Trump is saying, "Oh yeah, it's fine." It's not fine.
He's like, "I'll insure it. I'll pay for it." Like he has such a great reputation with paying his creditors. Okay.
So go ahead.
It's not fine. I woke up this morning and 2 oil tankers had been hit.
And yesterday, 3.
Yeah. So it's not fine.
I didn't even know they were letting them go through. I didn't even know that. I thought it was closed. I didn't realize that people were even.
Well, apparently.
Like the Spirit Airlines.
Trump has been saying we were guaranteeing passage. And then, but the people that know better have been saying, no, we're not prepared to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
For at least another week. Okay, so we're last thing on the economy. I mean, I know this feels all very war related right now, but we have the jobs. We have the jobs report. Let's listen to this.
Payrolls minus 92,000. Minus 92,000. That is a biggie. Minus 92,000 last month. 130K downgraded to 126,000. Minus 92,000. Well, what would that comp to? Minus 185 in December of 2020. There's where our comp is. Now, that means we have a revision over 2 months now of minus 69,000. The unemployment rate moves up 1 tick to 4.4%. We're expecting it to remain at 4.3. 4.4 equals where we ended up last year. To find a higher number, you're going to November. So Dece was 4.4. November 25 was 4.5. If we look at labor force participation, wow, a big drop, 62.0. We were expecting 62.5. 62.0 would be the weakest, and I have to really go back on this. 62.0 would equal D's of 21. To find a smaller number, you're all the way back to November of 21 when it was 61.9.
So we're back in COVID numbers. So I think we can just end on that. We can just move to the war full force on that topic. And I think that the thing is, if you look historically, when we're going to war, I'm not saying it's popular, but usually the president gets a lot of support, right? We support who's leading this country. And so this is World War II, Afghanistan war, Persian Gulf War, Iraq war, Kosovo, and Libya, right? And eventually you can see this is Trump. This is Trump's war, Iran war.
Well, and the inverse graph would be the amount of time and effort the administration spent explaining beforehand what we were going to do, what the objectives were, and why, and making the case to the American people.
Yeah, at least Bush, they may have lied, but at least they tried to, tell us a story beforehand. And that was coming off of 9/11. We actually were attacked here.
And they vaguely knew what they were doing. I mean, like, I might not have agreed with it, but most of the time they were somewhat competent. Like, if not, like, if I disagree, maybe I disagreed with their strategy because it wasn't a total strategy. Because again, like with most administrations, they have besties that have, defense contract companies that are making so much money off of this war, and they're, quid pro quoing each other. But they at least pretended, like they tried to act as if they had a strategy. And for the most part, it made sense. And we weren't hearing routine stories about, orphanages, or elementary schools being bombed on the date. Like, I feel like we hear that like once a week here. Like there's some, like whether it's this or it's something else, there's some kind of significant error on their part that has led to catastrophic injury and death on a regular basis, like to the point now where people, I think, are starting to get so either numb or just so overwhelmed that they're tuning out entirely.
And I think most people's response to this is, how does he have 41% approval on this war?
Yes.
So I don't know if these are lagging numbers or they're just calling the wrong people.
I think they are both. I think the polling methods and the way they ask the questions. And also some people mentioned this, they're like, maybe they're afraid to say the truth. Some people, maybe they think they're being put on the record, or, it's not totally anonymous or whatever. Some people might feeling like they're not comfortable.
And then you could see, I think this is interesting down here, like MAGA aligned Republicans, 90% approval. That's not shocking, but I also think we have to remember MAGA is a very small percentage of our population. It's not, they get a lot of attention because they're loud, but they are not.
Graph. Yeah.
It's,
For sure.
So then,
and also they're teeter-tottering, by the way. Like, not even all MAGA, like, right? Even the MAGA that's all, I think that there's not as many that are hardcore anymore, especially when you're talking about those that are vocal and that have platforms. They are
here we go.
It's not the United States' war.
My own feeling is no one should have to die for a foreign country. Our government's job is not to look out for Iran or for Israel. It's to look out for us.
I'm just going to be brutally frank. If it's going to be a hard slog, that was not pitched in the 2024 campaign. It just wasn't. We are going to bleed support.
I was promised that this wouldn't turn into a larger regional conflict. It's hard to believe it. It's hard to believe that at this point.
He was the no more endless wars candidate in 2016 and 2024, particularly, and this looks like an open betrayal of the base.
Literally, he did not, everything he promised, has he tried to do any of it? Like, name one thing that he campaigned on.
You can't lead with America first and an isolationist mindset, an Islamophobic mindset, and all of the other things that go along with the gross parts of MAGA that we don't like. You can't lead with that and then expect them to do outreach to help another country or a series of other countries. Like she said, for us, we need to help us out. And if they don't see any major benefits they're out. I don't know how you're selling this to them in a way that they're, because you can't use it from like as a benefactor. Like we can't be people that are going in to help. Isn't like that's not their MO. Like strength, okay, maybe, but that's a fine line. It's got to be, there's got to be a cost benefit analysis for them, and they don't see it, even with their math.
I've been
Has
hearing a lot of.
anybody, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Sue. Go
Has
ahead, honey.
anybody thought that maybe no one's talking about the Epstein files now? I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, this just nobody's talking about it.
I mean, a lot of people, the majority of Americans believe Trump launched Iran war to cover up the Epstein scandal.
Crazy.
It's not hard to draw that through line there.
That's high. I feel like that's high for that topic, because I do think a lot of people don't quite understand. I know you think it's like, might think, hey, that's been in the news forever, but I still think there's people that are so like, that are kind of checked out, apolitical, and like, you know, they might have more understanding of not Middle Eastern relations, but like this is something they've been through before. Whereas the idea of a president being involved in a sex trafficking scandal, that's like that's another thing entirely. They haven't lived through that yet. That's a new one for millennials. But I feel like it's just, we're just getting to the beginnings of this, is what I'm saying. There's going to be so much more to come out of this that I feel like those numbers are only going to go way farther.
In the general population, you don't have a lot of people that know a lot about Iran and their history with us. And so if you ask the broad populace, you know, what do you know about the history of Iran? You might come up with the Iran hostage crisis in 1979. And you would be hard pressed to find anybody that even the youngest voters at 18 years old who had a history class that got to that point, that and that had the wherewithal to touch on, well, but why did that happen? Because back up a few steps, we are the reason that Iran was in the situation they were in. We contributed to the fact that they had their revolution in the first place. So the broad stroke of people thinking, well, Iran bad, as people start learning more about what has happened over the years, they'll start realizing, wait a second, we did what now? And you add that to, if we're talking about putting boots on the ground, then you're starting to dredge up people's memories of recently in Iraq and Afghanistan and saying, whoa, 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 whoa. We do not want to repeat that mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why they want everybody out of schools. That's why they're trying to cut out curriculum. That's why, like, you know, Virginia is trying to pass legislation that makes January 6th a part of the curriculum and taught as like actually what it was, right? Like, and it's funny because half the comments are like, well, why wouldn't it be? That's actual history. And that's like what happened. It was an insurrection. But there's a lot of people that would love that not to be in the history book. And so these more rural and red areas cut out big parts of curriculum. And I would also like to remind everybody, and this is not a ding on teachers. It's a ding on the fact that schools are way over, like, there's too much curriculum to cover. There's not enough teachers. And if you look at the curriculum, the way that it's set up, something like that, if you're coming into the era of the Cold War, a lot of teachers are crunching that in like a week, like as a review unit, like not even its own unit, like trying to get ready for the end of the year, because there's just no room to fit it all in. Inevitably, kids don't understand certain things. So you stop earlier in history to explain things, to go over things, to whatever happens. And then you like hurricanes, snow, I don't know, like life happens.
Well, my mom taught American history and high school American history and would joke, but it's true. She started teaching in 1972 and she retired in 2006. She didn't get more days of school to teach those extra 34 years in 2006 than she had in 1972. And
because I taught history first, American history first, and then world history. And I thought American history was bad. You get into world history.
Right. It's you have an expanding base of things that you need to cover, and no more time, or more appropriately, like there's less time to do it, especially with,
Yeah.
like you say, social studies being one of the first things to be cut.
And so what I'm saying is the bulk of the population, even though we have access to the internet and now they can access that information a lot easier than they could by trying to find an Encyclopedia Britannica in the day, there's still a huge base of this population that doesn't really have a very strong understanding of any history, our history, or especially Middle Eastern history, and our role in it and what we've done. So to Chris's point, like, it is helpful the more we can have these conversations and start like bringing that in, but everybody's coming from a really, like, they're catching up, they're playing catch up on. And I think MAGA has relied on that. Republicans have relied on that for the longest time. And I think that
some of us in this group here are actually probably old enough to remember back in the 70s when we had to ration gas.
Yes.
I was a little kid, but I remember that. And it was by license plate, remember? Even and odd.
Yes.
Exactly. And there was like even odd days. I literally remember my mother, pulling into the gas station as her car ran out of gas and having to have people help us like push the car to the pump. And, there was a lot of conversation around our dinner table. And I mean, we're repeating history right now. And I think the biggest fear that I have right now that I'm seeing a lot of people talking about in the last 2 days is about our supply. And so how's that going to play out, right? Because apparently our reserves were not full. They're talking releasing some. So
what do you mean, Michelle? You don't think we're gonna have all that Venezuela oil just flowing through our pipelines?
Where did that even go? Like, where did that end up going?
I thought the whole point of that was that it was very expensive and difficult to refine. I thought that was part
100%.
of the
He hasn't been talking about it lately. Have you noticed?
He mentioned it the other day, though.
Okay.
I would say 3 or 4 days. I don't know what is time, but like not that long ago, he mentioned, he's like, and then we have the Venezuela oil will be here, like, and we're gonna have plenty of oil. It's totally fine. Everything's fine. And he mentioned Venezuela, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We did invade a foreign country and steal their leaders for oil. Where is that oil? And this is not that we should have done that. I'm not suggesting that. My point is that was their justification. So I'm like, that's right. Like, where is it? And this is the constant shell game of the Republican Party.
And his solution is to, I'm drawing a total blank right now, with Russia and other countries, relieving them of their sanctions, right? So that we can get gasoline. So the folks who should not be benefiting from this are benefiting from this.
But this all takes time. Like, even if those are solutions, nothing's overnight. And he's already talking about, oh, we're done. We're going to pull out and blah, blah, blah. Like, there's not going to be, even if we do pull out tomorrow, there's long lasting effects here. Like, the repercussions are huge. And to do what he really wants to do, to have regime change, he's got to have boots on the ground. You can't do that from airstrikes.
It's things that really fly under the radar. Like, one of the solutions was, he said he was going to lift the sanctions on Russian oil to India, with the idea that
I was like, I couldn't remember.
If India were to have bought oil from Russia, we would sanction India, and that is going to be a temporary solution. Okay, well, what does that do? That makes money flow into Russia, which then makes their efforts in Ukraine easier, and they're helping Iran. The solution is perpetuating the problem.
So, and going back to the unpopularity of this war, I think one of the big reasons why it's unpopular is because we don't know why we're at war. Like, it was explained to us like, oh, it's because of nukes. Nobody believed that, because he had already went in, and remember, he totally obliterated, quotes, their nuclear capability. And then we're supposed to believe, oh, they were 2 weeks away. So like, which is it? 2 weeks away from actually having a nuke? Where was the testing? Where, like, all these things that lead up to actual nukes weren't really happening. There was no benchmarks. So I think most Americans are like, this is not, the math is not mathing. Watch this video real quick because I really appreciate this.
The president doesn't know why he invaded Iran. And he tried in the beginning. He said he called on people to rise up for revolution. I witnessed it. I was awake here out in California, everybody. So I listened.
Oh yeah, and then he expected us to believe he was liberating the Iranians, and he was like, "Okay, we're gonna get it started, but you're gonna finish the job," as if they were actually watching Western television, which whatever.
To it in real time, and then they changed. They said it's about the nuclear program. Hey, wait a minute, we destroyed that in June. We have to destroy it again. Then they added another one, ballistic missiles, even though they don't threaten us. Let's just be clear about that. Oh, then they added another one. It's about terrorist support. We need to wipe them out because of terrorist support. And then they circled back 8 days later to say, back to capitulation. We need a full surrender. And oh, by the way, the borders of Iran might have to be rejiggered. There might have to be some civil war between the different communities there. They're just throwing arguments every single day to see what, oh, I left out. Oh, we did this because Israel was going to do it, so we had to follow them. That was Rubio on Wednesday. They forgot about that one on Thursday. They're just throwing these arguments out because they don't know why we invaded, and it's confusing to the American people, and this will be with us for a long time because they still have not figured out why we went to war with Iran.
Are you guys making sense of what's going on? I mean,
and Casey, you did that thread of Chris Murphy.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I'd encourage people to look at is after yesterday's briefing, Richard Blumenthal, Connecticut senator, came out and spoke to reporters, and he was visibly shaken. You could hear it in his voice. You could tell his kind of dire demeanor, and said kind of what Chris Murphy was saying, but that they could not articulate why we are doing what we're doing. And if U.S. senators are going into a closed door briefing and are coming out saying they're not only is it not a justifiable reason, they're not giving a reason. And that is incredibly frightening.
Yeah. Listen to this clip from. Okay. Oh, go ahead, Casey.
No, I was just saying on the front with the Senator Murphy one, I have a video that breaks that all down and shows you all of them if anybody wants to see it. But you can also just go to his that to me was the problem from the beginning, because like in most professions, you have to establish your goals and the outcomes. Like if you're doing a project or like I was saying in school for curriculum, we have to have outcomes, right? We have to know, like, how do you know that you've achieved what you wanted to? Well, what does it look like when you've succeeded? What's the outcome? And this administration hasn't done that. And I want to come back to this, but just pointing out, I think that the Republicans maybe finally have overestimated their capacity to befuddle people, to confuse people, to manipulate. Like I think they maybe have finally overplayed their hands in terms of overestimating their popularity.
Yeah. Well,
I was going to let you play the clip.
I actually want to share this clip of Cheryl Underwood. If y'all haven't seen it, it is just, I thought she was amazing. But just some background, she's a lifelong Republican. She's a comedian and actress. But she also served in the reserves, the Air Force Reserves. So check her out.
Here's my problem with it. If it was such a problem, then why didn't the president run on that? Why didn't he clearly say that's what he wanted to do? If you're talking about regime change or you're talking about no more forever wars, but now we're in something that you're not telling us why. And I put on a uniform to serve this country, and I always wanted to know, why am I doing this? It's me in the Air Force Reserve. Why are we doing it? And I do believe when they say you should not follow an unlawful order. Why is this not impeachable? And where are the politicians to say this dude don't have it all the way together? He cannot be the commander-in-chief.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you, because I'm following the commander chief, and to those families of those 7, we should care more about them than someone's personal interest if you are going to wage war. Because at first it wasn't a war, but now it's the Department of War. Now you are waging war, and you are putting American lives and soldiers at risk.
Correct.
When I heard that, I was like, yes. Because she's a Republican. I don't think she votes Republican. She just has kept that party affiliation. And she's clearly not a Trump supporter, but she also serves. So I think it's important for people like that to speak out.
It seems like it's the. Sorry, go ahead, Susan.
I'm sorry. The only other thing I was thinking earlier today was he's gotten us into something that he can't back out of. It's not going to be that we can say it's over because they're not going to open up that canal. They are not going to.
Of course they're not.
Well, and that was the plan. And I think that this is here's the problem, is that now we have Trump is a great scapegoat to some extent because he's obviously got some cognitive issues, which I'm sure we'll touch on later again. He's his personality, his bravado, like all of that, right, plays right into this. But at some point, it's very obvious that he's not driving this bus. And you can see that because of the many times where he has contradicted very blatantly Pete Hegseth in a conference and then been like, oh, I don't know. Like he literally, did you hear? I don't know if we have that clip, but the clip where he's just like, I don't know enough about that. Like, and I'm like, what? Like, you probably fucking should. Like, I mean, this is the thing, is that he acts like it's no big deal because he just plays it off, but that has to hurt his ego as a side, like for him to have to be like embarrassed like that in the press, and it's got to make MAGA feel uncomfortable. But like Susan said, now we're in this position where we full steam ahead, or else what else? And I think that's exactly what Russell Vogt and all of these holy war like people wanted.
And I also feel like it typically it's been us on social media calling out his mental failings, his dementia, whatever. And now you're hearing more, like Cheryl Underwood in her own way. She said, he's not all the way together. Here's someone else. Here's another expert.
Considering everything we've already seen and heard from the White House over the past week, what is your reaction to the new reporting tonight that Trump has privately expressed serious interest in deploying U.S. troops on the ground in Iran?
First, I'm going to say that, I'm going to use the word that a lot of people are thinking, and it's dementia. We have a situation where some would call a malignant narcissist is unfortunately drifting into a state of dementia that is difficult to manage here.
This is a major general,
with respect to your
major
question,
general.
Moving ground troops into a 93 million inhabitant country. Persians have a history of extraordinary bravery in combat. They have a history of extraordinary culture and maintenance of their current and their past and their future. So the idea of moving troops into the state of Iran, bigger than Texas, and working ground warfare with all the logistics associated with doing logistics in a great big country, we're talking pretty difficult stuff here. We're not talking Iraq. This is something much bigger and much more problematic than Iraq, and looks like Iraq 2.0 when you look at the failure to plan for the next step in this venture that the Trump administration has started upon.
Especially considering everything.
Iraq, this double the size of Texas. I mean, not Iraq, Iran, or am I wrong? I know it's quite a bit bigger than Iraq, and I don't think people have a scale.
Let me look that up for you.
Is the geography, is the fact that Iraq is mainly flat and Iran is encircled by mountains.
True.
So you've got that problem too. And the idea of the culture, I think, cannot be overstated, that you don't have a situation in Iraq where you could leverage internal struggles that existed for years and years and years. You would be walking into a very unified country that is being invaded, a la Ukraine, and you need to think about it. Did no one watch Red Dawn? You know, if we were invaded, how would you react? Would you just roll over and say, "Oh yeah, okay, just fine. Take my house, take my country"? No. They're going to fight for their own country. And
especially Iran.
Yeah, but this is the problem with these city on a hill people. Like, I'm so fucking over it. Like, that they just think that our way is right because they believe in like white Jesus and don't even follow his principles. So it's absurd to me that we decide, like, at what point is somebody going to get so fed up with our bullshit that they just absolutely come in and make and do some real damage to our country and our infrastructure and our people? And you know what? It's going to be justifiable based on the way we've behaved. If you wanted to know, just like visually, that is the size. Oops, sorry, my bad. That is the size. It says it's the same size as Alaska. It's 2.5 times the state of Texas, and that's where it fits in our gigantic ass country. So obviously, in addition to having much greater volume of landmass, as Chris said, the geography of it, we also have, they mentioned the culture of the Persian people, and that's 100% true because I used to have a boss that was Persian, and I also have many friends that are and have told me at length about how you know, like, the family is the most important thing, and then when you threaten that family, like the way that they will lockstep together and fight for that family. So yeah, like, I mean, in addition to the fact that it's not justified because it's unprovoked and we don't have any business being in there, we can't even run our own fucking country, we shouldn't be in other countries to begin with, we're not doing anything great here, so we shouldn't be policing other countries. All of that to be said, but then on top of that, we have these people that are going to kick our ass because they have way better unity and resolve than any of us do. We can't even fund our own Department of Homeland Security, like, but we're in another country bombing them. This is absurd. This is what I mean. Like, I can't take Republicans seriously, and I'm having a hard time with the media and people that are engaging in these conversations with Republicans when we should be embarrassing them at every single point in the media. Like, at this point, I don't really think you save face. I think you just expose all of the problems until finally someone's like, all right, it's time to start moving people out. Like what they did with Christine Elm, right? That was because she embarrassed everybody, especially Trump.
Let's take the administration on their word initially that this was about weapons of mass destruction. Let's take them on their word that Iran truly was 2 weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. So what does this, let's assume that's true.
Okay.
What does this teach the world community? What it teaches the world community is the only way you're going to stop yourself from being invaded by a rogue nation in the United States is to have a nuclear weapon. North Korea is not getting invaded. So this does the exact opposite of what you were saying was the reason we're going in there. This makes rogue nations double down on the fact that, well, crap, there's nothing we can do now. Our only answer is to have a nuclear weapon.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, now you have places like Dubai being attacked and other places that are just over there like, not that they're innocents, but we're minding our own business relatively.
I mean, it's truly become a Middle Eastern conflict. I mean, because
100%.
I mean, Dubai, their main source of income is tourism. Who's going to fly to Dubai right now? They're trying to get out.
And the video that you and I saw that was longer said, you know, if you need to understand that if it was happening anywhere else, it would have been called World War III by now.
Right.
But because it's the US that's involved, nobody's calling it that. But anywhere else, it would be because it's got such far-reaching implications at this point. So now you've drawn in all of these other countries, and at some point, like the anti-American sentiment that is going to breed out of this is so justified and so valid. And here's where this is going to be different. This is maybe where we shift here, and I didn't put the clips together. My bad. But y'all are on the internet, so you've seen them. The sentiment, the exposure is different, right? Back when I was a kid, and I remember seeing CNN and the bombing that was happening, right? Like I was a little wee tot at the time, but I still remember it. And that's where you saw it, and that was it. You didn't see the people, you didn't see the after effects, really. You didn't know much about it. We are seeing children with shrapnel in their faces.
Yeah.
We are seeing actively what's happening in real time, oftentimes before the mainstream media. And that's how the mainstream media is getting it, because it's being viral on things like YouTube and TikTok and wherever else, Twitter. And so I would say that the difference is you're not going to get that kind of buy-in the way that you used to, because everybody has eyes on the outcomes of this. So not only did, like Chris mentioned earlier, you didn't sell everybody on this the way that other wars have been sold. You didn't plan it and tell us and bring us all in. But now we're also seeing all of the negative effects. I think if we had access to all of this in previous conflicts, we might not have gone in, right? Because it would become a Vietnam situation real fucking fast, where all of a sudden everyone's like, no, I don't, that's not, we don't want this. And I just think the more that people see the bloodshed and the money that's spent and all that's gone into this, and also the ineptitude of this administration, the less buy-in you're going to have. People don't feel sorry for our country. They don't like our country, and people know that, and we empathize with those other countries, because we're like, we get it, we're kind of assholes, it's just our leader, don't hate us. And how long is that going to last before, right? Like,
It's
how long
not
does
going to
that
last long. Casey,
right?
you had brought up a point that on one of the questions, Trump had said, well, I don't know about that. That was when he was asked about the school bombing, that for the umpteenth time, that the United States had struck a school. He still has not come out and said it was a mistake.
Yeah.
And it's been I think it not only has it been
It's been
confirmed several
confirmed.
times at this point, now they're trying to double back and be like, oh well, it wasn't on our maps. But then now, like, Reuters is like, yeah, it is. Like, here it's been on there for years. Like, what were you doing? And not only did you hit it once, but you hit it twice. So you had like 40 minutes to confirm if that was actually your target, and then you just like threw out another bomb, right? Like that, the video showed the two different missiles hitting it
Well,
within
the
like, I think,
question
40
from that
minutes.
reporter, I think the more telling part of that is his reaction psychologically, because it
Yes.
shows that truly he is not in control of this. Because in any other situation, the reporter was very adamant about just flat out saying, you are lying. And think
Yes.
about classic Trump. Classic Trump would have shut that down, would have yelled at the guy, would have called him fake news media, would have. That is not his response. His response was, I don't know enough about that to answer. That
He
is
can't think
not.
on it. He can't lie on his feet anymore. This is what I said last week. I was like, we've gotten to the point now where before he would just lie. He can't think of lies fast enough. So I'm surprised he's out in front of the press as much as he is. I know they can't get his phone away from him, so they can't get him off True Social. But I am surprised that they keep scheduling these things and don't pull him away, because it is pretty evident at this point. It's not just that he doesn't know what to say and that they've fucked up. That's true. But it's also that you can clearly see some of the times where he pivots, or in that clip that I shared yesterday where the reporter was like, well, Pete Hegseth has said it's going to be short and you've said it's going to be long. Like, which one is it? How long is this war? And he's like, I mean, you could say both. Like, you could say both. I mean, he doesn't, like, he
We're
really
building
doesn't.
a new country.
He doesn't have the ability to like, he doesn't have the wit anymore to be fast with his words.
Improvise.
That's the brain fog. That's the cognitive delay that happens when, as soon he's gonna, I don't know if he's done it yet, because I haven't been watching. It's hard for me to watch him, but he started losing words yet?
Oh yeah.
Where,
Hell
okay.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
Oh hell yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, has
reporter-
that, because that ramps up really bad where you can't think of basic words like, you know, dog or whatever. Like he'll be like, you know, that thing.
He
that thing
substitutes. He substitutes
One
the
reporter
words.
pointed out, and I thought this was brilliant, that he kept calling the engagement an excursion.
Yeah.
We're taking an excursion to Iran, and somebody pointed out, I'll bet you anything, someone described this as an incursion, and he heard excursion.
That's
And
it.
very similar
That is it.
to when someone said
Oh
people
my
coming into this
God.
country are asylum seekers. He twisted
Yep.
that in his
That's
brain
right.
to they're coming from mental asylums.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
And the
Hannibal
windmills
Lecter.
and the windmills with the cancer. Like, and I don't even remember what it was that he got it confused with, but that was also, I remember at the time, people are like, oh, I think he actually got it confused with this. Like, and I think you're right.
And the
I think
emperor
that's
has
what
no
it is.
clothes. It shows that no one in his orbit is willing to correct him.
No one. Absolutely.
No, they're going to Weekend at Bernie's him all the way till the end. But I do wonder now, like at what point, because I've said this before, we have the Mike Johnsons and the Stephen Millers and the Russell Votes that are like all into this, like, you know, evangelical Christian nationalism, whatever. And then we have the other Republicans that are like not necessarily opposed to that, but that's not as much their jam. They're like, you know, maybe there's the pedophile protectors, like maybe they're just the people that want to make a lot of money and be powerful, like the JD Vances of the world, who are smart but pretending to be dumb in order to, you know, be the friend that, you know, you get a drink with that can relate with you and whatever. At what point are they breaking apart? Like, you know what I mean? Because they're at some point going to be like, we can't stomach this. Like, who gets thrown under the bus first? And is that coming? Because I feel like it is. I feel like that we saw today or yesterday, it was the reporter that pressed him on the issue of his attorney general saying that elections were fair in Arizona. Because he was like, oh, like, why did they take the records away? And he's like, oh, it's probably rigged. And they're like, but your own attorney general said that it wasn't. And then he just snapped back and was like, you're a terrible reporter. And we're seeing that more and more of the press feeling emboldened to actually like follow up and ask questions, which is like, yay, welcome to 2026. But I wonder at what point, how many times he embarrasses us, like substantially to the point where people have like, you know, this guy can't be carrying around our nuclear codes when we are actively engaged in a fight with a Middle Eastern country. I feel like the time is coming. I really do. I know I say that every week, but I really feel like
I hope so.
Something's happening.
I'm telling you, 2 years and a day. 2 years and a day is when people are going to flip.
My concern is that they. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, here's the clip that Susan
conspiracy
mentioned.
theory.
United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hickson? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating. Still
We'll be
the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
Investigating ourselves.
We think it was done by Iran.
We think.
Because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
You said you want to be involved in the selection of the next leader of Iran. Can you talk to me?
Well, because I don't want to just come back every 10 years, and mostly you'll have presidents, that will do that because they don't get it. But we don't want to come back every 5 years or every 10 years and do this. So we want to pick a president that's not going to be leading their country into a war.
So here's what he's
my
done.
God.
He's got rid of one
Visceral
awful
reaction.
person.
Sorry.
And then he's replaced him with his son, who sounds like he's worse. So
100%.
You know, and he's acting like he's doing future presidents a favor.
This is what he's like. I just realized what it's like. And teachers can probably say, I taught English as well. And so both in my history classes and my English classes, you had to do critical essays that required you to be able to synthesize material and read material and whatever. And I swear to God, he is like the student that came to class and listened to everything, read the Cliff's Notes, like you sat down and you said, this is what it is, and you tell them, and then they go home and they come back, they have no fucking clue because they never read the book. They don't know what's going on, and they're trying to piece it together. And you can see in real time them trying to reach back to that. They're saying some of the same phrases that you taught them over and over, right? That they memorized, but they don't understand because it's not synthesized. There's no critical thinking there. There's no synthesis of the material. You don't really know it. That's the point. Like, because you can fake it up to a point for this like level 1, if you're doing blooms or whatever, like you're at the level 1, you could maybe fake it for a while, but you can't fake it on a stage like this. This man has been sat down by Stephen Miller and like whoever else, and they have gone over this stuff and they've pumped it into his brain over and over and over. This is also why which he can't retain, but this is also why he doesn't seem like he knows stuff, because he doesn't, because I don't think he's being exposed to stuff. I think they're giving him what they want him to know, and then he's trying to memorize it and have responses for people. It's the same thing they do with Carolyn Levitt, right? Like she comes in with this prepackaged stuff she's willing to talk about, and then if you press her on it, she gets really mad. She starts to get upset. She can't really handle it because they don't have talking points that exist out of their prepackaged talking points. And this is where it starts to fall apart.
Well, and their talking points aren't true. They're not based on any
lies.
reality whatsoever.
Right. They're all
right.
They're
so how
all,
do they all keep up? Right. They get sent their memo every day. This is what we're talking about today.
Press just has to be a little bit stronger. The people in Congress just have to be a little bit stronger. The people in the public have to be a little bit stronger, because when you push them, at some point it's going to fall over because they don't have a foundation. They've just got this package of lies.
Remember
they're
when
not
the
even
press
able to sell.
Remember when the press went nuts over the Hunter Biden laptop thing?
Yeah.
Why are we not having that same response right now? Why do we not have folks hammering it every single time? And
they're afraid. I really think it's fear, because he will sue the networks. And
well, and his sons, on that note, like when we're talking about Hunter Biden and like inappropriate, nepotism, his sons are benefiting. They've invested in drone companies that are supplying parts. It's insanity, right? So
war profiteering has a long history in this country. So
oh my God.
Yeah. I just think it's crazy though, because I just remember there being so much yappity yap nonsense about, a $10,000 loan that Hunter paid his dad back for his truck. And it was nonstop crazy for like 2 straight years. And now we've got both of his sons invested in this company, this drone company. The other one, Barron or whatever his name is is profiting. He's got many. I can't keep track. He's profiting. He's like betting on the stock market. So like, what?
That's the video I talked about. I'm like, they're all making so much fucking money, and we can't
so much money
pay for our prescriptions. And these people are like buying and selling, and they're quid pro quoing with their defense contractor buddies. And everybody, this is by the way, this was, Chris said, this is the American way. But at least in the past, there were like 4 or 5 degrees, it's like we played 7 degrees of separation with Kevin Bacon, and you could kind of maybe like have some like notion that you didn't have any connection to these people. Meanwhile, this guy's like, it'll be like the person sleeping next to him, in his house, like that owns the company. And they're like, well, this is just whatever. And people are, I don't know if it's just at this point also a little bit of being immune to it, because not everybody's going to get sued by him, right? And they know that. Some of it's just, I think people brought it up initially, nothing happened, and people were like, oh, well, nothing's going to, nothing's going to change, because no one, like, what's the accountability? What's going to happen? Basically, we don't have the numbers in Congress to remove him. Republicans aren't ready to impeach him and take him out of office. So what's the point? What's the point, right? People feel gaslit into this is just the way now. And I think if that's why I said, like, at the beginning, I'm like, I've done March 12th is the day that I've done. Like, I'm no longer engaging with these people. I'm just going to start saying ridiculous things. Does that make me any better? Is that going to help anything? No. But am I going to look at somebody like Pete Hegseth and be like, you used to be on Fox News. You have no fucking clue what you're doing. And I resent the fact that I should have to engage in conversation with you and just stare at him and just stare at him. Like, stop talking to these people. I'm so mad. I'm so upset about it.
Video game Pete, did he ever serve in the military?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did.
Okay.
He was a SEAL,
I believe
right?
he was a major, or I don't remember.
Okay, because
he was in the SEALs, right? Was he in the SEALs?
He was not a 4-star
he was the
general.
Marines.
No, he was. I feel
Okay.
like he was in the reserves, though. I don't know.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Right.
he's not qualified to
No,
be.
it doesn't matter. Like, you can be in the military and not
also
be
not very
head of
bright.
the whole Department of War, which, when do we get to change that back?
So watch this next clip. Here's Trump talking about higher gas prices are good for us. And this is from today. I posted this a couple hours ago, but there's something else here.
A post from the president trying to spin high oil prices as good news, arguing it helps make the U.S. a lot of money. Of course, some of that money comes from the pockets of American taxpayers. Gas prices today averaging $3.60 a gallon, up 35 cents in just a week. And violence in the region keeps escalating. Iraq and Oman have now closed oil terminals after 2 tankers were attacked and left burning in the Persian Gulf. An oil refinery in Bahrain was also hit. And after the president had said Navy ships could help get oil tankers out, shipping companies say they have not been getting any help. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said today the earliest that could happen is the end of the month.
Operation Epic Fury.
Look at him. Like, what is this shade of foundation or whatever? I mean, and listen to what he says.
Is that a great name? Well, it's only good if you win. You know, you can only do. And we've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over.
I don't know. We've been used to being gaslit for years, but this occurred to me today. You know, we've been talking about dementia, but this is starting to feel less like gaslighting and more like confusion, or like, you know, like a stage of dementia. Like, he really is out of touch with reality. Like, some of these things he's been saying. And I think he really believes we're winning the war. He really
I think that's what they're
believes
telling him.
Yeah.
I think they're telling him that.
Exactly.
I think, and because this is the problem. The guy mentioned earlier, the fact that we're talking about a malignant narcissism. This is the problem with a narcissist, is they want to be told that they're amazing. Like, they want to sit down and let you tell them all of the great things that they are. So somebody like Stephen Miller pulling him aside and being like, we're going to tell you all these great things about you, and also XYZ, I'm sure he's eating it up because they're just telling him great things and he's coming out here and repeating them. He has no idea what's going on.
Well, Chris, the graphic you put up for support for the war, the entire point of breaking out MAGA is so that you show him only the MAGA part, so that you can say, Mr. Trump, your supporters are supporting this war 90%. 90% of your supporters support this war. And then he feels good, and then you do what you're going to do in the background because he's not really running things anyway.
Yeah.
It's only a problem. It only becomes a problem if he starts saying or doing things like so off script that they can't.
You guys, is this the same? Was that clip the same one from where there's video of him talking about women, saying the women are beautiful? Is that
today?
This is new. Yeah, I don't recall that.
There's one from today where he's
so
talking about women.
So that particular one, I don't know if it's the same that the clip was cut from, but there's literally him on record saying, I didn't even know where I was going today, and I showed up, and here you guys are, and like, you're a good looking guy. Oh yeah. So I just saw that before we came on because I was gonna send it, but
I think,
I didn't
yeah,
know
I
where I
mean,
was going. I came here and here y'all are. Like,
I'm wondering if we're
what?
gonna start to, you know how like they like parents have conversations with their kids and they don't think that their kids are paying attention, and then later they go to a party or something and the kids say exactly what you said, and you're like, I'm wondering if like it gets to the point where he starts hearing some of the gossip between the people behind the scenes, you know, like the, you know, Stephen Miller conversations, and then he starts telling us in press conferences accidentally. Like, I am looking forward to that. Like, he's gonna spill you know, some of those true social messages where he's giving people a heads up about where we're going and what we're doing. I hope they start having conversations away from him, because at this point I really do think he's going to spill super classified important information, and it's going to be way worse than a signal leak. It's going to be like he tells the whole world that we're about ready to launch an operation before we even launch it. Like, I think he's such a liability at this point, and his cognitive ability has fallen so far when you compare clips of him now even to 2 years ago, how substantially worse he is. And again, I stress, we're in a conflict in the Middle East. Like, with this, like, that's the most complicated, you know, it's like showing up for calculus and not being able to add 1 and 1 equals 2. This is where we're at.
So I was showing this earlier. I just wanted to touch on this briefly because there are repercussions here that we may only be in the beginning stages of. I don't know what's going to come of this, but this is my greatest fear. Frank Fligluzzi, posted this about intercepting. The U.S. has intercepted a coded signal believed to be from Iran that may be intended to activate sleeper cells outside of Iran. I think they're in this for the long haul. I know. I'm gonna play one other. I'm gonna play this because this is a report.
Alerting law enforcement agencies Iran may be activating sleeper cells. The alert says the U.S. intercepted encrypted communications that may serve as an operational trigger for sleeper assets. ABC News contributor, former Homeland Security official Elizabeth Newman's here for more on that. Hi, Elizabeth. So you say officials are concerned Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, might have agents inside the U.S. So given that context, how concerning is this new alert, and how are law enforcement agencies monitoring for these potential threats?
Anytime we go to war overseas, there is a homeland threat component to it, especially a country like Iran does not have the capability to beat us militarily. So they rely on asymmetric means. So they will look to use cyber attacks. They will look to use proxies like Hezbollah, criminal agents to try to disrupt things here in the homeland. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing this bulletin. I'm a little concerned that it took a week for this to come out. I've talked to a number of state and local partners over the last week. Everybody knew that this is the likely scenario. We go to war with Iran, we should expect that their proxies are possibly being activated, and we all need to be on heightened alert.
Former senior CIA field operative Daryl Blacker is here for more. Hi, Daryl. So how do sleeper cells like this work, and what are the biggest concerns?
Sleeper cells like this are typically people who are comfortable in the country in which they're living, even though their priorities might exist, whether with the Soviet state or in this instance, the Islamic Republic of Iran. So these are people who are completely embedded inside the United States. They live here, they work here, they're comfortable here, they speak the language here, but ultimately are waiting for some signal to go out and do some nefarious act.
How do intelligence agencies work to stop sleeper cell threats?
So you start to look for what we call indications and warnings, any type of signal that might suggest that these guys are part of some type of cell that the intelligence community might be aware of and law enforcement now, but the average person would not.
Any thoughts? Am I the only one?
Yeah.
Freaked?
I would like to say that I am not an expert in Middle Eastern politics, right? Like, so everybody that studies political science and goes to school picks kind of like a niche, right? Like that you study. And so I would not say that especially that part of foreign relations, I wouldn't say is my cup of tea. It's not what I know. But I 100% feel more than capable of ascertaining that this is a threat, any significant threat, and understanding all of what goes into this and what would come out of this just from watching Covert Affairs, a show that ended in 2015. And that's the difference with this administration, is that somehow a layman, someone who just watched a spy show on TV, knows more than they fucking do. And everybody should be concerned. I'm not fear mongering. I'm being legitimately serious about the fact that that I feel in past administrations that I wouldn't be able to hold my own in a conversation about this, but in this administration, I think I could lead the conversation, and that's a problem. It's like, I'm not being facetious; like, it's a real problem. When I'm besting our best in this area, we need to remove some people in power, fast, hurry.
What I'm worried about with this is not necessarily sleeper cell attacks, but what the threat of sleeper cell attacks will end up doing to our civil liberties. Because
yeah, exactly.
This type of thing is how we got the Patriot Act.
Yep.
And
That's it.
In today's environment, Patriot Act 2.0 would be incredibly worse than Patriot Act 1.0. Given all of the advancements, especially in AI surveillance, the fact that everybody has a computer in your pocket where you didn't 25 years ago, that can be used for surveillance. What I see happening is this being leveraged to create even more of a surveillance state.
I think you're right, and I think that the fact that this has been sort of their plan all along, right? This is a party that's it. I'm sorry if anybody disagrees with this, but I'm not going to pretend. This is a party that wants to create an assassination attempt. They'll do that just to change the narrative of the press and try to win an election. So what's to stop them from creating something like that and calling it Iran's fault? I mean, they're blaming them for the bombing of a school that was clearly what we all see and what the rest of the world sees is our fault. So what's to stop them from replicating an attack like that on domestic soil and calling it Iran's fault, so that they can take more control over, anything, like not just elections, like anything. I'm saying, like that this is an administration or a party that has spun out and is on the fringes and is willing to do anything to keep their power, because this is rooted in not just power and money, but in ideology, religious ideology, which is one of the most dangerous threats, I think, at this point that we have seen.
Well, so this went viral. The dignified transfer. I believe wasn't it last weekend? Was it Saturday?
Yeah.
And then Fox News on Sunday tried to head fake us. Let's watch.
J.D. Vance and Secretary Lady Usha Vance attending a dignified transfer to honor.
So what the voice you're hearing is Fox and Friends on Sunday. The upper screen is the actual current dignified transfer. And just a reminder, 7 troops were lost. At this time, there were 6. But during this week, a 7th service member passed away.
The final homecoming of the 6 U.S. service members killed in Kuwait. The solemn ritual returns the remains of troops killed in action. It is considered one of the most somber duties of a commander-in-chief.
So everyone freaked out because he was wearing the campaign hat, basically, and how disrespectful that was. I mean, people clocked that like right away. So then the following day, so if you look at Fox, just to be clear, if you look at Fox live footage of the dignified transfer, it did have the hat. But this was the following day. I guess they didn't like the results.
No, they didn't like the optics because everybody was upset. Yeah.
And so the next day they put in a previous video. So I think
he doesn't like his hair doing that fluffy thing that it's doing, and he was wearing a hat to cover it up. That's absolutely what happened. That's crazy.
My mom said, "I think he's losing his hair." I'm like, starting to lose. Like she was like, "I think he's starting to lose."
That happened in the 70s.
Yeah, those are hair plugs. That's what's left of his hair plugs. does.
Right. But he had a bad hair day and he knew it was windy. And he was like, let me just put on this hat. That's what happened. And Fox News knew that. And they knew that everybody was upset about it. So they're just like, let's just dip into our archives. And here's the problem. Once again, this goes back to what Chris was saying too. We all have little computers in our back pockets and we can just pull up these clips that otherwise wouldn't have been accessible when we went to war with Iran, in the 90s, when we invaded Afghanistan and Iraq. This is going to be the problem. And this is also why we might see more pushback and, like what Chris was saying, threats with civil liberties, because we can call them out so quickly. And so they're going to have to do something to prevent that. I don't know what they would do or how they would do, but I will tell you what I ranted to Chris about last week, which is, I am not going to sit here and just because I cannot conceive of how they will do something or try to do something or even be successful with something, I'm not going to pretend that it's not a problem, because I'm seeing a lot of people in the Democratic Party, because I guess they're afraid of the fear mongering, or I don't know, they don't want people freaking out. So they're just minimizing the likelihood of, for instance, a draft. Do I think a traditional draft could be employed right now? No, I don't think we have the logistics of it. But would I tell you not to be concerned about that? No, I would tell you to be empowered by that and to get involved with your local elections and to find ways to plug into your community and basically hold your representatives accountable now, right? Start having that conversation with your friends and whatever. But I'm not going to say that could never happen, because we've seen that this is a party that doesn't play by the rules. They don't follow the Constitution. This administration doesn't seem particularly cared about, they care about it at all. And we've seen the media lets them get away with so much that this is just because they can't maybe implement it fully the way we can conceive of it, doesn't mean that it wouldn't be threatening to us, doesn't mean that people wouldn't get hurt or killed, as we've seen with what they're doing with ICE. And as Alex Preddy's family and Nicole Good's family could tell you, and all the others that have been killed could tell you. So again, these people are threats to our Constitution, to our society, and to everybody living in it, until they're replaced with people that actually know what they're doing, because he doesn't have a clue. And then the other people who actually do maybe understand geopolitics, they're not in it for the same reasons that other people may have run countries. Because, look, I don't love George Bush, but I do think he loved this country, right? And you can't compare the two, right? Because I'm just thinking of the last Republican we had in office. It's Trump.
I mean, Trump only loves himself. I think he would throw Ivanka Trump under the bus if it would save his, his own ass.
Yeah.
And that's his pride and joy.
Yeah. He puts his family above anybody else, but I think he'd put himself above them. Yeah. That's a narcissist.
Most parents would, give their life for their kids, not that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's hold on.
The wildest comb over ever. It is. I mean, that's the thing. It's comes from this side of his face. I don't make fun of people unless they're evil Republicans that want to take away your rights and freedoms.
I think everybody gets a pass with these ones because they deserve it. But
that's like Marco Rubio's ears. I'm so sorry I didn't bring the picture, but did you hear did you see the thing about his ears?
No.
Okay, so apparently,
well, he does have big ears,
right? Well, I didn't know this, but apparently somebody went viral or is made a video because they messaged their friend who did video work for him, and the whole time he was basically one-on-one with them with his hands on their shoulders, and he was talking to them how he wants to be filmed and was explaining when he was younger. And I can't say the word, but it's a Spanish word for the big ears, that they called him that was his nickname. And so he apparently had surgery on his ears and it didn't take, and it was bad, and the surgery went bad, cosmetic surgery. And it didn't do well, but he was showing how he didn't want to look like Trump's dad, which I didn't realize Trump's dad had really big, ugly ears. And so then they showed a picture of that. And now that when you look at his ears, they're enormous and I can't not see it. And I was normally I would not say anything about this, especially if somebody is insecure about it, but that man deserves all of this, all of the criticism. So when you're done with the live, and anybody that's watching right now, you can side Google this and come back and tell me. Go look at a picture of Marco Rubio's ears, because I was crying and I was like, how have we never noticed this before? It's so bad. Anyway, sorry, that's just
No, you're good.
an upshot.
The next, so Pete Hegseth did this one of his lovely press conferences, but this kind of touches on the point that you mentioned earlier, Casey, the condescending tone that, I don't know, for some reason with me, like with Trump, I can't stand him. I don't like listening to him. But once in a while, a little charm comes out at least. None of these other motherfuckers have any charm. None of them. And listen, and I think they all try and sound Trump-like, but they don't get it.
We've taken control of Iran's airspace and waterways without boots on the ground. We control their fate. But when a few drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it. The press only wants to make the president look bad, but try for once to report the reality. The terms of this war will be set by us at every step.
It's what these Hegseth was complaining that it was front page news about these 6 service members who were killed.
That's not what the secretary said, Caitlin, and that's not what the secretary meant, and you know it. You know you are being disingenuous. There is not, we've never had a secretary of defense who cares more.
Drones get through or tragic things happen, it's front page news. I get it, the press only wants to make the president look bad.
Yeah,
as you know, we cover the
does,
deaths of U.S. service members under every president.
The press does only want to make the president look bad. That's a fact, especially you. No, listen to me. Especially you and especially CNN. And the Secretary of Defense cares deeply about our war fighters and our men and women in uniform. He travels all across this country to meet with them, to connect with them, and your network has hardly ever probably reported on that. You also had the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Chairman Kane, who's a brave patriot, standing alongside the secretary at the Pentagon this morning, again expressing his condolences to these families. And I just told you that the President of the United States will be attending their dignified transfer. So please,
that's not making the president look bad. That's showcasing that.
We expect you to cover that as you should. We expect you to cover that as you should, Caitlin. But you and your network know that you take every single thing this administration says and tries to use it to make the president look bad. That is an objectable fact.
I don't think covering troop deaths is trying to make the
if you're
president
trying
look
to
bad.
if you're trying to argue right now that CNN's overwhelming coverage is not negative of President Donald Trump, I think the American people would tend to agree, and your ratings would tend to disagree with that as well.
I mean,
How
if
is
anything,
Caitlin still
they give
allowed
him
in
a
that room?
pass. Huh?
How is Caitlin
I think
still allowed in
they
that
all
room?
give him a pass, if anything.
No, but how is Caitlyn allowed? Because she really she does
Good for her.
show.
All I
Good for
hear is
her,
the Sandra
and whatever
Vasquez's.
whatever pharmaceuticals she took. I asked last week, I was like, what are these people taking to be able to stay in the room with it and stay calm? Like, I know what's happening. Like, I see what's happening. It's like I'm watching a movie again, right? Like, I'm reliving what I've already seen in a movie, but I still couldn't keep my calm with KK Carolyn. I would lose it. Like, if somebody spoke to me that way, I was gentle parented to some extent because I had teacher parents, but I am a child of the 80s, and like, you do not talk to people that way. Like, you're gonna get a face full of smack at some point. Like, that's just, I didn't get smacked around with my parents, but everybody else did. And I'm just saying, like, that is a lot of audacity coming from a woman that doesn't have any lips to speak of.
Well, Caitlin needs to be a mediator, a negotiator, a diplomat, because
something.
Man, I couldn't hold myself together the way she does.
Well, she does. It's not even that what she says. If you watch her face, it's like there's no movement. Like, I don't know if it's just a lot of Botox or like what, but there's like not even a micro expression, like just nothing there. She's not giving anything away. She's just like, it's like she expects this kind of awfulness and she's okay. And she's just immune to it now. How do you get immune to it? Is there a pill I can buy? Because I would love to not be, my blood pressure can't take this. Like, God knows I won't be able to afford the medication in this healthcare system. So I don't know if anybody has.
Did you hear her start to say, she goes, he cares more. He's the most caring Secretary of Defense ever. Like, they always say, the most transparent president, the most transparent administration. It's, and like, if you don't believe that, something's wrong with you.
She was off her game because she said Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now,
Secretary of War.
I said this back in 2023, and I was like, the Republicans have paid for, and nobody will ever be able to tell me differently. They have paid for some kind of a PR campaign person from Hollywood. Like they've pulled somebody over from that. They know how to create this kind of narrative, and just the way that they do it in Hollywood, where they give these little packages, these press packages to other people, and you'll start to see like people chiming in and talking about somebody else or their movie or whatever. It's all planned. Like anybody that lives in LA knows this. Like it's all planned where they show up to take pictures. Like people don't realize that. They think it's like, oh, this is just like a natural thing that's happening. No, it's all orchestrated. It's all planned. It's all fake. And they do that to sell movies. They do that to sell celebrities. And so if they've had a scandal or something, they all get together and unify behind talking points. The Republicans are doing the same thing. And that's why like they speak about each other in loving language. I don't know if you saw the clip of Erica Kirk and what's her face, the Sarah Huckabee, like at an event speaking to women, and like the way that they're caressing each other and talking, like it's all planned. And this is also why it makes me furious, because they don't mean any of this. They've been rehearsing this because somebody told them that this is how they have to behave because it works, and it has up to this point for them.
So there's so much more to cover about, what's been going on in the war, all of the bullshit. But I don't want to end our live without talking about the Save America Act.
Yeah.
Since we were talking about Carolyn, so we've been calling it the Save Act. They are calling it the Save America Act. And this language, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but it really got me.
America Act has 5 simple requirements as requested by the President of the United States. Number 1, voters have to show ID to cast a ballot in an American election. Very simple. 90% of Americans, including more than 80% of Democrat voters, agree with this. Number 2, the Save America Act will require all voters to show proof of citizenship in order to register to vote in American elections. Again, this is popular and rooted in common sense. Only American citizens have the right to vote in American elections. But after Joe Biden and the Democrats allowed tens of millions of illegal aliens into our country, it's more important than ever to ensure that only American citizens are registering to vote on our nation's voter rolls, and Congress needs to pass this. Number 3, the Save America Act abolishes the incredibly unsecure practice of universal mail-in ballots, which throw the door wide open for fraud. Importantly, the Save America Act maintains exceptions for Americans to use mail-in ballots for illness, disability, military, or travel reasons. The bipartisan 2005 report of the Commission on Federal Election Reform, chaired by, of all people, former President Jimmy Carter and former Secretary of State James Baker, concluded that, quote, absentee ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud, and it is time for Congress to finally address this. Number 4, the Save America Act permanently bans men from competing in women's sports. President Trump signed a landmark executive order upholding the promise of Title IX and ending this dangerous and unfair practice. But now it's time for Congress to codify this into law. Number 5, the Save America Act bans transgender mutilation surgery for children. Again, President Trump signed a common sense executive order to do this and kept his promise to the American people, but now Congress needs to do the same and codify it. It's well past time for Democrats in Congress to stop perpetuating the radical and false claim that you can somehow change a child's sex. You cannot. Passing the Save America Act is the most important thing that Republicans and, frankly, Democrats can do to strengthen election integrity and protect our democracy. It's what the American people elected Republicans to do, and they must deliver on it as soon as possible.
So I was not aware of that language until this press conference that they had put in language about trans women in sports and
that's an amendment. They've added that in, right? Like that's
okay. So, which I think they're doing it so that it's part of the conversation on the Hill, so that Democrats have, they always try and can you define a woman? So they're always trying to put Democrats on the spot, and that's what they're going to be doing with the debate on the Hill, and it's going to get their base activated. So that's what that's all about, and it's just
There's a clip of John Thune being asked by a reporter. Wouldn't it be easier if there were just a clean bill about voting requirements, and that didn't have anything to do with trans anything. And he said, well, that's what the president wants. And you can just see the light go out of his face, that clearly he knows that that's batshit crazy.
This is why it needs to be asked over and over and over.
These
That
two
question
things do
should
not
be
go
asking.
together.
Yeah.
And-
Why are we doing this again? Why are we doing the same with the war, right? Same thing. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing it? Keep asking.
And if you truly wanted numbers 1, 2, and 3, you wouldn't include 4 and 5, because 4 and 5 are non-starters. You could argue to the American people, you could manipulate the American people into getting behind 1, 2, and 3, even though there's no empirical evidence for the necessity of them. But you include 4 and 5, and you've now tanked your own bill.
Yeah.
So I personally think that what I would do, and I don't know if this may be unpopular, I've been against all of this bullshit the whole time, even when they were talking about voter ID before, because there's a lot of rural communities where they don't have the same kind of, they don't have access to their birth certificate, et cetera. I do think maybe it makes sense for Democrats to budge on showing ID all across, like federally. But I don't think it's proof of citizenship. I think that is really going to disenfranchise voters, because not everybody has a birth certificate. Not everybody has a passport. It does cost money. That's why people are likening this to a poll tax of sorts. But like, there are a lot of reasons why you would have an ID. So maybe that's something we compromise on. I don't
think we do, because here's why. Here's why. You give them an inch, they take a fucking marathon. I think that, number one, if you did anything like that, you would have to make sure that there was a bullet point, like there was a specific section of the bill that was like, this has to be financed for by the federal government.
It's
like
free.
If
It
people,
has to be
it
free.
is free, and that that it's free as long as like you can get it that same day that you go register. Like you don't have to do anything else. You go to the same place you register, you get that ID there. And I don't think, number one, I don't think Republicans are ever going to be willing to do that. And number two, I don't trust that they would ever write language that would allow for that. And number three, I don't trust that this president would actually release funds, because he's been holding things, like he'll hold funds like back and won't give them to states. So
well, everything you just said, we put in the language. We say this is what has to be done. We're not agreeing to it, and that is reasonable. It's polling very high. Like, I'm just saying this because ID, showing ID is polling in the 70% range.
But you go back to I think the core argument to this is, explain to me the logistics of how you would go about committing voter fraud. Explain to me how this would work.
It's not happening. Like that, I think we can. They're not proving voter. In fact, the times I can remember voting fraud being proven, they've been Republicans.
Because when you sit somebody down and you say, so wait a second, so you are going to know a name that is registered in a certain precinct. You're going to go in there. You're going to know that they haven't gone in yet. You are going to fake being them, say their name. You are going to vote for them. You're going to hope that that person doesn't show up later in the day, which would then cause that ballot to come into question. You are then going to travel to a different precinct, rinse, repeat, and you are going to do that how many times?
Yeah, that's a lot of trouble
within a day.
Right. Well, they're also concerned about like online voter threat, which, like, let's talk about this for a second. I shut down somebody yesterday. If you have anybody, by the way, as a side note, anybody that's watching that needs somebody to talk to them about it, just tag me. And I'm happy to come in and I will have a full conversation with them about this, because this is my favorite thing. Do you know why? Because it's so fucking stupid. And everything about it is stupid. And if you're going to talk to me about saving money and being financially responsible and moving this country forward in terms of technology and progress, then don't tell me that we're going to sign a bill that's going to make 42 states obsolete in terms of their voting systems. Do you know how much money that's going to fucking cost to overhaul all of that? Like the amount of money that it's going to cost to get people in to take all of this information down, because remember, a lot of it was being done online, and that streamlines things. Technology makes things faster. And so now we're going to have to pay people to do that. But we're also going to have to pay people to get licenses and documentation for the 20 million plus people that do not have appropriate identification under this bill. I don't care if it's 10%, it's still going to be at least 20 million people. And that's a lot of fucking people for like small little county and district offices to have to contend with. They're going to have to pay people. Do you know who pays for that? Do you know who pays for that? You pay for that. The federal government doesn't pay for that. You, the taxpayers, pay for this. So this shouldn't be the Save America Act. It should be the Cost America a lot of fucking money act. And that's how people should be talking about it.
It's
Well,
the Stop
100%,
Vote Act.
but
Yeah.
they don't care about that. So you can't talk about disenfranchisement to people who don't want you voting in the first place. These are people that would be happy if only white men voted. So don't use that. People don't care. Republicans don't care. Now the average person might, but they don't. Yeah, exactly. They don't care. But if you start talking about money,
I obviously object to 4 and 5, but number 3 is really a deal breaker for me.
And this is what I mean. Like
voting.
No mail-in voting. They don't care. When I always do bring up the fact that it's going to disenfranchise disabled people. It's going to disenfranchise people overseas who are serving our country that can't show, whether they're like a civilian over there or they're in the military, whatever. Like overseas, you can't provide the proof of citizenship that's necessary in person. So therefore, their ballot's not counted. That also would be students who are not living at home that can't be in person to show that there's so many people that it's going to disqualify the people that can't get there, people who are working multiple jobs and don't have transportation and all these marginalized communities. But I don't think a lot of these Republicans don't care about that. So you also need to be able to pivot really fast and talk about how much money that's going to cost to try to make up that difference when you get rid of mail-in balloting and you say everybody's got to be here in person. And also we want to get rid of early voting. And also, by the way, for the people who actually do care about third parties, this is going to effectively eliminate third parties. This will eliminate third parties in elections. So that's also something to note for people who care about that. More I could say, but honestly, I think you're right about why they're doing the sports, trans thing. They're trying to bring that up to, you saw Kansas pass where you can't drive
even the language
now.
they're using, they're saying no men and women's sports, and it should be trans women.
Because they don't care about that.
And then they say no transgender mutilation surgery for children. That's not even happening.
Not happening. This is the same thing as after birth abortions, right? It's not. Yeah. I don't care about what's happening. It doesn't. They can this is a lot easier for them to just, like you said, get their people on fire for it. And it's the same reason why they keep trying to sell voter fraud, because people really feel patriotic about that and want it to be they don't voter fraud that's so anti-American, but it's not happening. And that's the problem. It's not happening at all. It's so minimal for all the reasons that Chris stated, because it's just who's doing it and who's that motivated, and how do you think really one vote is going to change the dynamic of say the president, the office of the president or whatever? I mean, I know everybody's vote counts, but you know what I'm saying? This isn't going to be a widespread.
I remember
phenomenon.
Even Republicans, there was a task force. I can't remember who led it, but they even investigated voter fraud, and it was a Trumper, and they came back with zilch, nothing. So it's just not a thing.
Yeah. If you're investigating the security and safety of elections, what you should be looking at is the poll workers and the municipal offices and all of that. It's not the actual voters that are voting and mail-in whatever stuff. It's the people that are overseeing those ballots and keeping. And I'm not saying that they are, but I'm saying that's, to me, where there would be when they talk about Jimmy Carter talking about absentee ballots. I don't think they mean the people. I think what they're meaning is all the people that are overseeing those programs, and that's why the federal government wanted to get their hands on those ballots in Fulton County, because they got to get rid of those.
Right. I mean, there's some shady shit right there, and that's coming from their side.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's projection, we say every week. It's projection. If they're saying it, then they're doing it. If they're accusing you of it, then they're doing it.
So, Casey, did you want to talk about voting, including Virginia with the redistricting?
Yes. Well, I would just say that part of the way to push back on everything that we've been talking about tonight is to get more eyes and ears on this, right? To get more people involved in not just the what's going on in the news, but in the voting process. So everybody needs to, there's a graphic that's going to roll through here, but also you can just Google it and it'll come up to find out the dates of your primary that's upcoming so that you can participate in that. There it is. There's a list. You can find yours. And for most red states, or if your state's a purple state, maybe consider that too. Your deadline to register is going to be about 30 days. It might be a little sooner, but it won't be more than 30 days because there's a law about that. So it's got to be 30 days out that you can register. That's like your last day to register. So you need to make sure that you're registered to vote. This is like a good prep for midterms. And then also on top of that, connecting with people who are in your community to find out how you can serve other communities where there might be threats from like ICE or, you know, some sort of intimidation in terms of voter suppression. So if you can vote early, what we've seen in, you know, Texas, for instance, in Dallas County is a big, you know, reminder that whatever you can do to get your vote in early and cast your ballot early so that there's not like on the election day some kind of shenanigans, which I'm sure Republicans will eventually try. So early voting is super important. So Illinois has theirs on Tuesday. Is the only state.
And this is why it's important to keep on top of this stuff, because like online voter registration is already behind us, March 1st.
Yep. And so your ballots are due today, by the way. Hey, Illinois, get that postmarked today. I don't know how you do that now, but I guess it's supposed to be today. So the other thing is keep an eye out for special elections. Like in Virginia, we've got the amendment, the redistricting amendment, that's going to give our panel, it's just similar to California. So like we already had a law in place where there's a bipartisan commission that essentially redraws the district lines every 10 years with the census. And so the Virginia amendment is going to temporarily revert that back to the legislative houses to create a new map to counteract the gerrymandering, the gross gerrymandering that's been done by the Republican Party. And this is only temporary. It is only a temporary measure. It's a one-time thing that goes to the voters. And if the voters pass it, then we would have to pass it again for them to do it again. Otherwise, it's going to go back to the 2030 census and they're going to redistrict as normal with that bipartisan commission. So all this does is essentially give the American people, the Democrats and the American people, a fighting chance to try to protect our country, the safety of elections, the fairness of elections, and the security of our democracy. So yes, on that.
Nancy has a question. Can you post that on Blue Sky, please? Nancy, were you talking about this? Let us know in the chat or describe it a little more in the chat, because I posted a few things up here. If this is the one, I'm sure Casey can post it, and we could both post it tonight after the live, and I'll post it. And but I don't know. But continue. I just wanted to know which one she.
Let us know which one. So you want to vote yes on the Virginia one, and if you know anybody that is struggling with like, oh, you know, it's unfair. It's really not, because everybody will still have a voice in government. It does not take anybody's voice away. But it takes people who are already in the minority as rural voters and keeps them in the rural and as rural voters in the minority. However, they're still going to have representatives and they're still going to have representation and they're still going to be able to cast ballots, and those ballots are still going to count. But what this does is it's going to prevent the Republicans from further gerrymandering states like Virginia and others, because if we can get enough Democrats in office, we can stop gerrymandering altogether. Like we keep trying to pass a national ban, and Republicans keep preventing it. So Virginia is a key state with this, because right now we have Democratic leadership and control in every house, both our House of Delegates, our Senate, and our governor. So we can get more done to protect both our state and the people. So that's a significant one. I haven't been paying attention to any of the states this last week or two, so Chris could probably jump in and correct me, because I don't know who else is flirting with the idea. I just know that every single time we hear a red state talk about it, when it actually goes to their Senate, it doesn't have water in the legs.
I don't think so. I think Texas was not as successful as they thought it was going to be. They're seeing that now. It's very questionable, and so I think a lot of red states are like, let's not play with that fire. I personally do not think blue states should take their foot off the gas, but it's slower for us, In red states, they don't have the benchmarks. They don't have the roadblocks to doing this. Whereas blue states, we all have laws in place where you can't just willy-nilly redistrict. It's tied to the census. And some states like California have actual panels that do, they're nonpartisan panels that do the maps. So,
that's how ours is.
When California decided to fight fire with fire, we did two things. We put it to the voters, and we wrote into the law that it is temporary. Like you said, Casey, like Virginia is going to be temporary. So this is not an ongoing thing. This was a fix to really fight back against what Republicans had done. And to people that are saying like, oh, you know, you don't, two wrongs don't make a right. Listen, we're talking about our voting rights here. And they were literally trying to flip before we even got to the polls, how this, like in a really unfair way. Why should Democrats just sit down? Like keep going, get this shit done, and we can work out how to make it fair again later. But this is evening the playing field. And
well, in Virginia's case, it doesn't mandate that it's going to happen. It gives them the power to do it. So again, like this isn't even saying we're definitely going to do something. It's that now we have this, if we need to do it, to make sure that we counteract what the Republicans are doing. And I would say that a lot of states, in Virginia included, because we've seen before, it was a very gerrymandered Virginia before they started addressing that. A lot of states have already been, if they don't qualify as gerrymandered states like under the law, they've been very creatively drawn by Republicans because they were really the first party to get good at this. I'm not saying that they were like the first one to do it. I'm saying that they were the first ones that got really good at it. And we saw it done quite a bit in the 2000s and the 2010s. And so a lot of states already have aggressively Republican friendly lines, even if they don't qualify as gerrymandered. So I would just also push back on this rhetoric that the Democrats are stealing Republican voices, because I would argue that it's already been imbalanced by Republicans for a really fucking long time. And so this is just balancing the scales and leveling the playing field. And if you want to cry about it, like I think you should go talk to Governor Abbott, because he and Trump are the ones that started this whole mess. And if you didn't have a care about it then I don't know why you should have a care about it now. Because if you weren't loud back then, I don't think you get the right to be loud about it now. I just how I feel about that.
And an important thing to always bring up here is that the Senate is already gerrymandered.
Mm-hmm.
You have
100%.
Wyoming with each senator representing roughly 300,000 people, and California with each senator representing 20 million people. So to argue that something nefarious is being done with the House, we're just kind of making up for the Senate a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the founders absolutely did not intend for it to cover this broad of an expansive territory nor population. Because remember, these are people that thought it was only going to be rich white men voting when they crafted this whole thing. And it was a tiny little, 13 colony situation. It wasn't a giant, expansive country. So it's like, stop going back to the framers, because then, I mean, we're going to really have to talk about people who enslaved other human beings. And I think that that's just like, do we really want to go back there? I don't. I'm sure some of these white nationalists do, but I'm not a fan. So anyway, so keep an eye out on your primary dates. Keep an eye out on the special elections. If you see people spreading misinformation, like for instance, with Virginia, just like with Prop 50, there were people that tried to say like, oh, they're going to permanently do this damage. Nothing's permanent. Number one, it's all temporary. And number two, it's not mandating. It's giving the voters the power to decide if they want to give their legislative body that power as well temporarily. So as a way to correct any of the cheating that's happening by Republicans. So please try to combat that if you can online. And also please try to consider volunteering to be a poll worker, especially if you could do it in your primary. That might also be a great way to get yourself involved for like the general midterms later. And also connect in, like, if you can vote early, then you can be somebody that shows up to help people get to the polls by either giving them rides or like showing up to be escorts to make sure people feel protected at the polls. To just even standing there to be witness, right? Like to make sure that people aren't harassing people or, passing out flyers when they shouldn't be or whatever. Like anything that you can do to stay involved.
So Nancy, I just posted that graphic on Blue Sky, X, and Threads. So hopefully folks will see it and spread it around using their own post or
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Michelle's like, the worst case scenario is here people end up with health care. And that needs to be said because like the threat of Democrats here is that y'all get better than minimum wage. The threat of Democrat is that you get some health care and maybe your retirement doesn't get extended to like year 80. Okay. Like the worst thing about Democrats is that we think that universal health care is a thing and that, you know, you should be able to get like, you know, your shots and your prescription medications for like nothing, because why should you be paying for insulin when like a necessary to survival? Or, you know, like, I don't know, school lunches for children, stuff like that. It's not, this isn't, I know that the Republicans have done a really great job with their messaging to convince and scare people.
Yeah.
But again, and I would like to stress this, there's one party that's not releasing the Epstein files and that is continually protecting child predators, and it is not trans people. It is the Republican Party. My children are safer with trans people than they are with Republicans, and there are statistics to back that up. There is evidence, there is data to show that. So I think if you're really concerned about the safety and security of the people, you should be asking your Republican leaders when they plan to release the full files and when they plan to start prosecuting the people in them.
Well, y'all, I think anything else you want? I really wanted to talk about, we had Pete Hegseth's spending spree on the agenda.
Oh,
We had
yeah.
some stuff to show
Made a
y'all
video
there.
about that.
And yeah, and also I really wanted to talk about Markwayne Mullins because he is
Oh my
awful.
God. I forgot about him.
Think his
Trauma block.
confirmation hearing is going to be next week, but I don't think there's an official date. So if not, then we'll definitely talk about it next Thursday because there's some things people need to know.
What a mess. Do I want to know more though? I feel like I don't want to know more.
You don't want
I
to
think
know
it's
more.
good for people to know that this guy is probably going to be much worse than Kristi Noem.
He is definitely going to be much
And he's
worse.
actually less qualified than her, which is
he is less
Phenomenally
qualified.
less qualified.
I can't stress how less like I said earlier, how I could have conversations about geopolitics. Like I could talk about like cardiac thoracic surgery. I don't have any proximity to the medical field, but I could do that with more knowledge and awareness than this man could talk about.
100%. Well, and we read, right? We read and we consume information.
And, you know, we watched ER, so we're fine. Like it's totally fine. Yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you again for another great Thursday night, and we will see you. So we're on every Thursday night at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. So join us, and I love the responses in the chat. It was great. Thanks, everybody.
It was good.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.